Now that we've covered the lowercase alphabet, it's of course time to move on to the uppercase one. And while this is a class for beginners and uppercase letters can be a lot more challenging than lowercase ones, I do want to demonstrate each and every letter of the alphabet, and I'll be going through it alphabetically, unlike the lowercase alphabet. I do, though, want to emphasize that it's going to be very important for you to work by yourself with the practice sheets that I've provided in class. Uppercase letters, by definition, they are taller, which means a lot more movement of the hand, which is a beginner skill that you're still learning. They often have a lot of flourishes built into them, much more so than the lowercase alphabet. Even the simplest uppercase letters do. And just generally, they have far fewer repeating stroke patterns than the lowercase alphabet. So while I'm not trying to intimidate you, I am just trying to emphasize that working through these on your own is going to be the best way to master them. But watching me in the video do the demonstration so you can see the stroke pattern and how I emphasize the weight and all of that, that will help you along the way. First up is A, and I just want to first say that these uppercase letters will all span the ascender height. Some of them will even extend down below where like the descender goes, but none of them will be just this height to fill the X height. So starting with A, I'm going to come up and down, making a very slight little kind of flourish on either side. Now, because this can be a little bit bottom heavy, I tend to add a little bit of a tail there up at the top. So again, like this. You're going to see that lots of lettering artists vary their uppercase letters dramatically, and there's really no one right way for any particular style. So I am providing you with a very basic style here, but I really want you to look at the work of other artists too and find inspiration there. B contains one of the shapes that repeats in a couple of letters. So we're starting with an S curve that doubles back on itself with a little loop. And then we're meeting up there at the bottom. That does take a little bit of skill to make sure that you meet up at the right place, but I know that you will be able to do it with practice. Moving on to C. C is a fun one, just a lot of curves. If you want to extend this bottom part, you can do that too. That's one variation that I'll show you now. D shares this B shape a little bit. So we start with that same S curve coming out like this, and we connect again at the bottom. E is another fun one with lots of loops. You may notice that these kind of seem like they might be more italic than the lowercase. They're not, that's just an illusion, but because they have more flourishing to them, they can seem a little bit fancier and more slanted. The slants become more noticeable. F, J, and T are going to be pretty similar. So here's your F. And even though we're going to do these in alphabetical order, I'll just quickly show you here that J is very similar. I just curl around even more and of course leave off the crossbar. But let's get to that in a second and just truly go through this alphabetically. So this little crossbar here, by the way, I come across and then I make like either a little loop or a flick of the wrist down. So you can make it a bigger loop if you wish. That would look more like this. But either way, whether it's a loop or just a filled in little comma shape, you need to have something there or else it looks too bare. It looks unfinished. You see, if you do that, it looks a bit almost like a T, that old style of T that had a crossbar. So you really need to finish it off over here. G starts out very similar to C, but it comes up here and has a nice tail. So it extends all the way down to the descender height. You can have fun with that tail. You can even connect it to the following letter if you'd like. It's not that hard with a G. Depends what you want to do, but you can have a lot of fun flourishing that tail without too much effort or experience with flourishing. There are many styles of H, but for brush lettering, I prefer pretty simple ones because I feel that that's most in keeping with the loose, flowy, brushy style of this particular pen. So this does require lifting your pen twice, making 3 individual strokes, but it's just a very simple and intuitive letter. I can be a tricky one for people because we're very much inclined to make them as one of the simplest print letters, uppercase, just a straight line, or with a top and a bottom bar like that. But script I really has to not only be slanted, but it has to have curves incorporated. So to do that, you can just make a very simple curved upstroke leading into a downstroke into a counterclockwise underturn. Obviously, there are lots of variations, but you don't want to curl so much that it looks like a J, and you want to keep it pretty narrow so that, again, it doesn't look too much like a J. If I widen that I shape a lot, you get a lot more of a J, almost a T shape.